Today, an unbelievable story about Germany, migrants, and a woman who goes to jail because she complained about somebody being raped. You can't make it up. DeSantis proving his value in Florida as some of his policies are showing up big time in terms of money saved. Then Jews attacked by pro-Hamas rioters in L.A. Nothing's done about it. A kid gets his day with Trump and $20 to boot. We've got these stories and more, so get ready because it's all unfiltered.
Dennis Michael Lynch gives you his word, and he will never let you down. He will always fight for America.
The only one who really puts his money where his mouth is Dennis Michael Lynch.
Hello, I'm Dennis Michael Lynch, and I thank you for joining me today. Across from me is my son, Dennis. On the controls, my son, Ryan, and it's a Monday, and we appreciate you being with us here today. Few things just want to let you know about before we get started. Going to do it in less than a minute. If you are a DML CBD customer, dmlcbd.com/BOGO, BOGO stands for buy one, get one free. We've been running it now for a week. This is the last week. It's going to end on the weekend coming. It is the last BOGO that we foresee having in quite some time. If you're an existing customer, you should load up because I'm not going to be able to help you out for quite some time. And on top of that, we're moving locations. So it's going to be a tough one for a few months. Make sure you get in there. If you haven't started yet on DML CBD, now's the time. If you've got aches and pains, if you can't sleep, if you've got anxiety, skin issues, you want to boost the immune system, we have the Ferrari of CBD, and now you're going to get it at basically a Ford price. With this in mind, also, we are running a major special for Team DML. We're allowing you to see this video, or at least parts of it today. Most of the time, we're only going to be able to do it at Team DML. TeamDML.com. You could do it directly on the URL like I just gave you, or you could get the DML News app, download it for free, go to the tab 5, Interact, and hit Team DML memberships for just $18 for the entire year, $1.50 a month. You can help us stay in business, and you can watch our podcast every single day. And then, of course, the last part, which we're going to dive into right now, is every day I write a amazing newsletter, which everybody loves. The open rate on our email newsletter is 3 times the industry standard. And so with that being said, let me get into the first story that was on the Great American Newsletter today, which you could get from greatamericannewsletter.com. Dennis, there is no doubt in my mind that if we were living in Germany, you and I, especially me, because I've made 4 films on it, but you're a co-conspirator because you helped me at least make one. I think Ryan has been involved in one. We'd be in jail for the rest of our lives because we would critique migrants. If you critique migrants in Germany, you're in trouble. Let me give you the details of this story, which I have to tell you, I've been doing this for now almost 20 years. This sits at the top of the most shocking stories I have heard. And make no doubt, this is happening in the United States, if not today, very soon, if Joe Biden stays in office. Here are the ugly details. The rape of a 14-year-old girl, 14 years old, okay? Here's the deal. Actually, I'll go back a little bit. The rape happened in 2020, and it involved multiple groups of migrant men independently attacking a 14-year-old girl in a park over the course of one night. It started with a group of 4 men who took turns on the girl, repeatedly raping her over an extended period of time. They stole her wallet and cell phone before leaving her. Weakened from the first attack and having no method of calling for help, the girl was raped a second time by 2 more men. Scumbags that they are, the rapists begun inviting other men to rape her via their chat groups, gleefully sharing the news that there was an isolated teenage girl in the dark park with no potential witnesses. The child was attacked a 3rd time by a single man, and then a 4th time by 3 more men who dragged her into a bush and raped her. Finally, the child managed to break away and ran, though pursued by her rapists. Thankfully, eventually, she came across people who immediately intervened and called the police. A total of 11 men were initially charged, but 2 were acquitted quickly due to a lack of DNA evidence. The sperm of 9 of the men, however, had been successfully recovered from the girl's body. There were videos of the rape taken by the men and shared on WhatsApp. 5 of the men held German passports, while the remainder were not citizens of Germany. Among those charged, none were of German heritage. The rapists were identified as a Pole, an Egyptian, a Libyan, a Kuwaiti, an Iranian, an Armenian, an Afghan, a Syrian, and a Montenegrin. During the trial, the girl was called upon to testify. While she recounted her horrific ordeal, reportedly, the men showed no signs of remorse, and at least one is said to have almost fallen asleep during the proceedings. However, despite DNA and video evidence, 8 of the 9 men convicted walked free with probation and spent no time in prison at all. The 9th was sentenced to a measly 2 years and 9 months in prison without parole. This is for raping a 14-year-old. You can imagine the outrage from the German people, who feel they've lost their country to illegal aliens from predominantly Muslim countries. Between the rape and the radically pathetic court system, one resident, a 20-year-old female, managed somehow to obtain one of the rapist's cell phone numbers and sent him a text. She called him a dishonorable rapist pig and a disgusting miscarriage. She added, "Aren't you ashamed when you look in the mirror?" The rapist reported her to the police. She was arrested and sentenced to a weekend in jail for her insulting remarks. This meant she spent more time behind bars than all of the rapists except one. Authorities are also reportedly going after another 140 people because they also insulted, threatened, or gave some level of detriment towards the predators who got away with raping a child. This makes absolutely no sense. I mean, how in heaven's name does any person sit in a courtroom with the ability to be a judge and say, you are going to jail for the weekend because you sent an ugly text to somebody who literally raped a 14-year-old? That is bad enough. But then to allow all these men to basically walk free with probation, what has happened to the world?
This is the world now. I mean, the U.S. isn't really all too far removed from it. I mean, we see these stories countlessly. We saw some friends this weekend and even talked about just how crime is more encouraged than I think ever before. And it's sad because in a modern, in a first world country and in a modern day era, this shouldn't really be happening at all. But it's like become a factor of cultural tolerance because, again, you read the nationalities of all these men, and in those countries, or at least most of them, this happens every day, every hour. So now they're bringing their culture with them to a first world nation like Germany, and the German courts are just accepting it. And if anything, they're punishing a girl for calling them out on the crime that they committed. And there was more cases of this kind of situation in Germany where politicians and even citizens, when they openly talk negative about migrants, that they're charged with a hate crime. And that's not too far removed of what's happening in the U.S. I know we don't have this video today, but Simone Sanders, she's the advisor and spokesperson for Kamala Harris in her department. She used to work on the Bernie Sanders campaign. She was on MSNBC. They were talking about a legal immigrant that raped a girl. And because one of the pundits who was a little more hard-hitting used the word illegal, nothing else bothered her about anything of that situation other than the term illegal. And she stopped everyone dead in their tracks. And she says, "We don't use that word. It's undocumented." And the guy pushed back. He's like, "No, he's an illegal alien." And she made a face. She was more upset by that term being used than by the crime that was committed against a teenage girl. So we are officially not entering. We are officially entered into a world where, as we've seen for the last few months and the last few years, this is just the normal standard. And it by all means should not be the normal standard, but this is what's promoted.
Yeah, I mean, take it a level up to the White House, right? I mean, when it was George Floyd's anniversary, Joe Biden is, basically taking the violin out and playing a song on Twitter about how this man was a heroic figure and, how he is a civil rights icon. This guy was an 8-time, 9-time criminal who took a gun to reportedly a pregnant woman, robbed her, lied to her, said that he was part of the water authority because he wanted to go out and get drugs. This is heroic to Joe Biden. But when we got Laken Riley, who was killed going back months ago, when we've got the recent story of Rachel Morin, the mother of 5 from Maryland, who was just killed by an illegal alien. And then, of course, we got this other girl we just reported on her. I can't remember her name. I'm frustrated about that. But the young girl, I think she was 14 years old as well, or a 12-year-old girl.
Oh, the 12-year-old.
12 years
Jocelyn.
old. Jocelyn, right, killed by an illegal alien. Joe Biden hasn't brought these people up one time. Morin's mother was on Fox News and said, no, the administration hasn't reached out to me. They haven't apologized. They haven't said anything to me, nothing whatsoever. And then we had Mayorkas identify, Morin, I can never say her name right, Rachel Morin, the mother of 5, as an individual. He wouldn't even say her name.
And there's the thing, you are at least saying her name.
Right.
And like I said in one of our previous episodes, if I had to bet the money, I think Mayorkas knows her name. He is purposely not saying it because it humanizes the entire situation. And you start to think like, oh my God, these are people that are truly being killed. These aren't just news reports. This is our reality now. But by him using individual, it just minimizes the depth of the story. So that way, he can run cover and say, not all migrants are bad. The crime statistics aren't what they are. It's disgusting, but this is the leadership that I guess a lot of Americans have decided to elect or support.
No doubt. I mean, we're going to take people to L.A. in a second, because L.A. and California is just an absolute disaster. But, there is some promise in the world, especially when it comes to migrants and illegal aliens. Ron DeSantis here, nobody will ever strip from me how much I think this man would have been a remarkable president had he had the opportunity. Unbelievable. And, the proof is in the pudding, all right? So we are here in Florida, and Ron DeSantis actually makes laws that matter. I'll give you an example of one, and here's the receipt, so to say, of what we get. Florida's Medicaid spending on migrants has dropped by 54% this year alone, following Governor Ron DeSantis' immigration policies. Last fiscal year, $148.5 million in the state and federal Medicaid funds covered emergency care for migrants. As of May 3rd, only $67 million has been spent on the program. This decline follows the signing of Senate Bill 1718, which requires hospitals to ask patients about their citizenship status and mandates immigration status verification for employers with more than 25 workers. So in other words, mandatory E-Verify. So because we have put in mandatory E-Verify, and he didn't go far enough. He should have put mandatory E-Verify for every business, because the majority of businesses who are hiring illegal aliens are the smaller businesses of 25 or less. But even the fact that if you go into a hospital, you're going to have to present who you are, it deters them from going there. And so here it is, our state is saving in 1 year's time 54% of taxpayers' money. And that is an accomplishment. That's the sort of thing we need. We're not getting that whatsoever.
Agreed. Look,
on a national level, I should say.
Yes, I mean, it's fun. I do obviously love Trump, but I think a powerhouse ticket that could have been, in a theoretical sense, would have been DeSantis, Huckabee Sanders.
Yeah. Simply
because unless there's another state I don't fully know about, I know Florida and Arkansas, for example, put a full stop on Chinese-bought farmland. So like he, when it comes to Florida, is doing everything in his given power to prevent migrant, illegal immigration, the freaking just cartel, because again, we share a maritime border with Mexico. He's doing everything in his power to prevent that from overtaking the state. And even times when he's trying to, like sometimes you get a leftist judge that tries to overrule his actions. So, he is a powerhouse governor, and I just wish we could just keep him for the long run. It's a shame that we have to
say goodbye in a few years.
Say goodbye in a few years.
Now, in terms of governors, Gavin Newsom is completely getting slammed again today. I mean, the guy is he's Joe Biden and Barack Obama rolled into one, and is on steroids on top of that. He is the worst of the worst. California is an absolute train wreck on just the high-speed rail, man. And there is a video Ryan is going to play right now. He's going to play it over me as I'm speaking about it. This was trending on Twitter today. We had it. The video was on the Great American Newsletter. Violence erupted outside the Adas Torah synagogue in Los Angeles, where pro-Palestinian or pro-Hamas terrorists, if you'd prefer, demonstrators or rioters, if I prefer, attacked Jews. They were reportedly blocking the access for the Jews to get into their own synagogue. And as you're watching the video here, you just see the violence that's there. The Jewish people are trying to just protect themselves. And there is absolutely nothing that's being done in this country to protect the people who are innocent and just trying to get through their day. If this was reversed, if this was a mosque and the Jews were preventing the Muslims from getting into the mosque, all hell would break loose. The DOJ, the FBI, every single last place you could imagine would be down there investigating it and doing it. And I'm telling you, when you look at the Germany story we just talked about, when you talk about what's going on here with how the Jews are being attacked, it is clear as day to me that what the Muslim Brotherhood had intended to do going back decades ago has finally come home to roost. They have gotten inside our government, both local, state, and federal, and they are pushing the narrative. And slowly but surely, we are becoming full-blown Germany. Not totally there yet, because I'm still allowed to speak what I want. But I'll tell you right now, it is going to be a matter of time before we are absolutely taken over, like these European countries are being taken over. The difference between us and them, why we have it worse than them, is you don't see the Mexicans and the South Americans and the Central Americans going over to Europe. We're getting them here. They're coming in from all the Latin Americans country. And then on top of that, we're getting all the Middle Easterns coming over from the Muslim countries. We're getting both. Europe is just getting the one. We're getting both. So this country right now, if we do not swing the pendulum back to the right and get Trump in there and hold this country for the next 12 years, it's done.
Yes. I mean, to your point, it's an awful melting pot. You got the South America continent, 90% of those countries have had some kind of leftist dictator that has influenced, the cartels, the crime, and even just the mentality. A lot of these people that come over are there was a Team DML member who even talked about it in the chat. They were thrilled by the idea that Biden could be president again because they know that they're going to get benefits, that they're going to be given amnesty eventually. So there's like a safety net that they never have to worry about. Then you have those coming from Islamic countries. I mean, in Pakistan over the weekend, a tourist was killed because apparently he insulted the Quran. That's the culture that they embody. And it's not like they're coming to our country and leaving their culture behind. They are purposely wanting to bring it over so that they can instill it in the institutions we already have established here. So you have that, and then you have Chinese nationals, which again, that percentage increase is beyond concerning when you look at the last 2 years. We're getting the worst of the worst. It's not your grandfather's immigration where you have the Irish and the Italians and Polish coming over to work hard. You got people coming over here to take the benefits and then instill a culture of violence and just absolute apathy to our livelihood.
Look, there's it feels at least as if there's some momentum behind Trump in the sense that you could take a look at that Fox poll that we looked at last week. It doesn't make sense to any of us. Bill Maher, this would have been a good video to play. We just don't have it. Bill Maher, just on his show over the weekend on HBO, far lefty he is, started to read down all of the different demographics that Biden is starting to lose heavily. The Latinos, the blacks, whatever. He's just going, how is it that he is, and this is Bill Maher said it, how is it that Biden is doing what he's doing to this country, losing the support of his typical Democrat follower, and somehow he's up in the polls? Sounds to me like they're sort of forecasting already there's going to be a cheat, right? Now, with that said, let me give you an example of something that the momentum of what it is that Trump has. He was just in Philadelphia, a blue of the bluest cities there is. The crowd was enormous, all right? And he winds up going into a fast food joint, and there's a kid there dressed up like Trump He's got the suit on. He's got the wig on, the whole 9 yards. The kid is so emotionally engaged. He's there talking to Trump. Trump signs. Ryan's going to play the video over me right now. Trump embraces this kid, takes a $20 bill out of his pocket, signs it, hands it to the kid, and the kid's sitting there taking a picture with him. I mean, that's the sort of thing right now that people are looking for. Not just a guy who is going to lead us through this mess, but a guy who can communicate and convey warmth to people. Not Biden. Nobody wants Biden. There's no warmth in that man. Unless, of course, you're LGBTQ, you're an illegal alien, or you're somebody from Ukraine. Then 100%. But in this particular case, you're going to tell me that Fox News really has a legitimate poll where they were absolutely able to get people to say, I want to vote for Joe Biden?
Yeah, I'm telling you that I have a lot of suspicions about that poll that was posted, the timing of Trump insulting Paul Ryan, and then an hour later that's posted. I'm just saying. Yeah. I think it was one of those things they may have taken the poll, had it on the back burner, and then we're ready to toss it because, Trump came at them, which is, again, ridiculous. We got to get past that. But this is on Paul Ryan not issuing more support, because my thing is, even if you're not a Trump super fan, even if you're just tepid at best with, okay, yeah, he did great for the 4 years he was here, but there was a lot I wasn't crazy about. And you and I shared all the time that there are things that maybe we're not too crazy about with him. I view it as a bigger picture. He gets elected. He's only going to be in there for 4 years. He could be the catalyst to kind of give a different spark to the Republican Party. And then you can get somebody after into 2028 to carry the torch, but maybe in a more refined and better, but still strong MAGA kind of way. Mm-hmm. Someone like a DeSantis, someone maybe if J.D. Vance does become something of a bigger show, or maybe someone we don't even really consider or know about yet. But I view Trump as the way to get this country back on its feet. And people say after those 4 years, okay, what he just did after what we dealt with Biden could be fantastic. Let's keep that momentum going. So you just got to view the bigger picture rather than, Trump isn't someone I'm too crazy about.
Over the weekend, there's a guy named Jake Traylor. He's with NBC News. He tweeted out that Trump had told him and Dasha Burns, I guess that's another reporter, that he has already picked his VP.
Yes. And
that he hasn't told that person yet, and that they'll likely be at the debate. So my heart wants Ben Carson, but I think that Trump's history of picking people, he goes what seems to be popular at the moment. And so J.D. Vance right now is the popular at the moment. He won that straw poll pretty big on the Turning Point USA last week. He was just at his rally in Philly, said to everybody, hey, who do you like for VP? Some guy screamed out J.D. Vance. People were cheering, whatever. So he seems to go that direction more often than not. So I would say that, if you're going to hear about it this weekend, it's going to probably be J.D. Vance. So which, look, at the end of the day, the guy is a conservative and he is young, so he can carry a torch for a while. And I'm not going to complain about it. He hasn't said anything so far that's made me roll my eyes, Right. So
I'd love to see it if Ben Carson's at least kept in his administration.
You would hope so. Yeah. You would hope so. One of the most pressing things that we have about the whole debate is, this unfairness that people are predicting is going to take place because it's on CNN. And Jake Tapper, or whatever his name is an anti-Trumpist, and he's going to be one of the guys moderating it. To give you a kind of a preview of what it is that we may be able to see, there's a girl named Casey Hunt on CNN, and she was interviewing this girl. What's her name?
Caroline Levitt.
Caroline Levitt.
She's a Trump spokesperson.
Yeah, she is the 2024 press secretary for the Trump campaign. And so here's an exchange on CNN to kind of give you a case for what's going to be coming. Play it, Rye.
It takes someone 5 minutes to Google Jake Tapper, Donald Trump, to see that Jake Tapper has consistently
stop this interview if you're going to keep attacking my colleagues.
Adolf Hitler.
Ma'am, I'm going to stop this interview if you continue to attack my colleagues. I would like to talk about Joe Biden and Donald Trump, who you work for.
Yes.
If you are here to speak on his behalf, I am willing to have this conversation.
I am stating facts that your colleagues have stated in the past.
Okay,
now,
I'm sorry, guys. We're going to come back out to the panel. Caroline, thank you very much for your time. You are welcome to come back at any point. She is welcome to come back and speak about Donald Trump, and Donald Trump will have equal time to Joe Biden when they both join us now at later this week in Atlanta for this debate.
You know, Dennis, I got a lot of feedback from people over the weekend on my op-ed from the newsletter. And again, I just want to pitch it one more time. GreatAmericanNewsletter.com, GreatAmericanNewsletter.com. It's a long URL, but how can you ever forget that? GreatAmericanNewsletter.com. And what we do each day, Monday to Friday, is we send out a newsletter that has a whole bunch of different news and opinions and videos and whatever. It's sensational. It really is. We put all of our effort into it. And then on the weekend, I'll just write a solo op-ed. And my op-ed this weekend was about how it is that I think behind the curtain, Barack Obama, who is running the country, it's the only, actually, let's put a pause for a second. There is no other argument that stands as much as this one does. You've got a guy in Joe Biden who can barely speak, who can barely stand, who can barely walk. He is an old man who is ready for nursing home versus the White House. Mm-hmm. World leaders, media, all Democrat politicians, you name it, Hollywood, they're all Barack Obama, they're all supporting him. They're all pretending as if this isn't happening. Like we're seeing something that we're imagining in our heads. And I say, how does he get away with this? Because this is a man who's running the country. The only way you get away with it is if Barack Obama wants it to be the case. I truly believe that Barack Obama wants Joe Biden to stay in there for at least now. And I'm starting to believe that he will not be the nominee. I am believing that having him go on stage with Trump, that Trump is going to destroy him. And that will be the decline. See, you can't have, I'm going to go for a couple minutes here, but you can't have the optics of Biden being ripped out of office, because it shows that the Democrats know he's doing a bad job, and it shows that they allowed him to get in there and stay in there despite the fact of being dementia. So what happens? You let him fall on his own sword, and somebody's got to push him onto that sword. Who better than Trump? I think that the cunning brain of Barack Obama says, let him go up against Trump. He will wind up falling down on his own. We didn't push him down. The other guy pushed him down. We insert who I wanted, meaning I being Barack Obama. Barack Obama picked Kamala Harris. You want to know why I think he picked Kamala Harris? Because in terms of dingbat status, Joe Biden is up here and she's right next to him. In the same way he controlled Biden, he will control Kamala Harris. And the narrative is just as strong. First woman of color is the first woman president. Holy cow, he finally gets what he wants. It's the people that look like us off to the side, and here we go again. And I truly believe he wants Trump to win this debate. I really do. I believe he wants Trump to just destroy Joe Biden. And it's going to be tough with these microphones going on and off and on and off. But I had written in my op-ed that the way to do this is that every single time Trump is asked a question, no matter what it is, he has to refer to Joe Biden as being on amphetamines and in no condition at all to be running the country, let alone being on stage. Damn you, Jill. How do you do this to your husband? Damn you, Democrats. How do you do this to this poor man that's sitting there? Every time he says it over and over and over, it's like, have a Coke and a smile, have a Coke and a smile, have a Coke and a smile. This entire country will be talking about Joe Biden and how it is that he has to step aside, he has to get out of there, and Kamala Harris will be the nominee, and Barack Obama will get exactly what he wants. And then maybe in the middle of the night of the election, Lord knows what happens, and we've got President Kamala Harris.
Then my question becomes, who she's choosing as her VP? Is there a world where Barack Obama slips in as VP?
Not a chance.
No,
he knows how to play behind the curtain, man. He knows how to play behind the curtain. It wouldn't matter who her VP was. It wouldn't matter what at all. It doesn't matter. She could pick a dog. It doesn't matter. He's got Kamala Harris, and he's going to be able to control her and puppet her just like he did Obama. Now, I mean, just like he did Biden. Now, with Biden, I think it's because he's got things on Biden. Okay? With Kamala Harris, he's probably got stuff on her too, because she doesn't have the greatest of reputations on how it is that she got to the top. So maybe he knows a little bit more than the rest of us do. I have no idea, but I just, in the back of my head, I just look at this, and I because over the weekend, I'm saying, how in heaven's name is this man? We played that video the other day of him trying to get into the Escalade, the SUV. And I'm saying, how does anybody look at this and say, this guy's okay? I put it this way. I wrote this way in the op-ed. If Joe Biden was a professionally trained pilot and he said, come on, guys, let's get on my plane. I'm driving. Not a single person, Barack Obama, anybody in the media, George Clooney, all these different donors, not a single person would get on because they'd be like, I ain't flying with him.
I'll make it even easier. Would you get in a car with him if he
Not
was
a chance.
driving? Yeah,
not a chance.
Exactly.
Not a chance. But they're going to be okay with him having the new codes and him running the country? Listen, the smell, this is like walking into a river of dead fish. I mean, the smell is there. You can't deny what we see. Why isn't anybody doing about this? And it's because Barack Obama doesn't want anything to be done, Dennis. That's my take on it.
It's a solid take. I've had that feeling, and you've been saying it from the mountaintop for a while now. If there was someone who was calling the shots, that obviously would not be Joe Biden. And I don't think it's obviously Kamala Harris, because to your point, I think for her, it's always been about the status symbol of, I am the first woman of color vice president. I get all the perks with it. I don't really need to be, calling the shots here, because I don't really know much. I mean, she's word salad galore. But if I get the image and I get the, presidential portrait, I'm happy. So who's really calling it? The man who wanted to start the fundamental change all the way back in 2008 and just keep that train rolling.
Now, I don't know what the schedule is. I don't know. Maybe you do or not. Have they set up, let's just say it's J.D. Vance for a second.
I believe in sometime in July.
So in July, there's going to be a VP debate.
I think late July. Yes.
So it has to happen after the nomination
Google
process.
real quick.
Yeah. But when's the next debate between Biden and Trump is late summer?
I believe September.
Okay.
Beginning of September.
So I can see it. I can see it very easily where they do one or two different approaches. Biden bombed so bad this week to where the call that he has to step down and not run again is so blaring that it happens. And now Kamala Harris doesn't have to debate somebody like J.D. Vance, who will wipe the floor with her. She then gets to debate one time against Trump, only once, and it's in another controlled setting where she's going to be able to do her thing.
Mm-hmm.
You follow what I'm talking about?
Yes.
I could see that would happen like that. The second way it would happen is, I see the problem is that the longer they wait on something like this, the tougher they make it. So if it's going to happen, it's going to happen soon. It's going to happen soon. But who knows?
There's, I would say, I mean, you've obviously been around longer than me. The amount of theories and possibilities of how this election doesn't play out as simple as Trump against Biden, because one, you're mentioning about how Biden could barely, operate. Then there's the Trump's getting his sentencing. What's going to happen with that? There's even the theory of what's going on with Russia, with those citizens that just got targeted. If a World War III breaks out, all of a sudden U.S. gets dragged in and an election's delayed. And that might be the more far-fetched one, but I don't know. Everyone thought COVID would be far-fetched when it first started, and look at the trajectory it put the world on. So.
I don't want to we got to wrap up here. I don't want to get too deep into this, but I will say this is a good conversation to have coming up soon. If July 11 comes and Trump is sent to jail for any period of time, I think you would see the entire country of brainless is not counted. The brains of this country, whether you're an independent, a conservative, a Republican, or even somebody who goes on the left side, is going to get behind Trump. Because to put him in jail, it's almost the same thing as putting this young woman in jail because she screamed at a rapist who didn't get anything in terms of their own jail time. I think he has a runaway train almost in the same way that Reagan did, where he just wiped the board. But again, for as long as Barack Obama and for as long as all these bad actors are out there and they don't want to see anything in this country go back to the right, sorry, I just can't go to sleep at nighttime on election night and feel as if we're going to wake up and feel good about what happened. I see 2020 happening all over again unless Lara Trump has something, man. I hope she's got something up her sleeve to protect the integrity of this election, because I don't know how this country survives another 4 years. I don't know how it does. I don't know how it does.
I think this is the last true election, truthfully. Well, my opinion on it.
Well, it's another conversation for another day. We got to wrap it up. All right. Thank you so much for joining us again. Right, going down real quick. If you're not already a member of Team DML, please consider to do so. TeamDML.com. Just go there or download the DML News app. Go to the tab 5, Interact, Team DML memberships, $18 for the entire year. It's a special I'm running until the end of July. Also, BOGO, BOGO, at DML CBD, dmlcbd.com/BOGO. Buy one, get one free. Ends this week. We don't have a lot of stuff in inventory. Stuff is already starting to fall off. So you want to get in there and grab all that you can. And don't forget about the greatamericanNewsletter.com. You want to sign up for that for free and get it every morning in your inbox. And if you're not getting it in your inbox, go take a look at your spam. Search for Mr. Lynch. You'll find me. Drag me back into your inbox. On behalf of my two sons, we wish you, your family, and the United States all the blessings that God has to give.
And for today's Team DML blessing, I'd like to give it to Donna Ellis.
Sounds good for Donna. All right. We'll talk to you soon.
Get the Dennis Michael Lynch podcast every day by subscribing on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and download the DML News app from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store for breaking news, merchandise, films, exclusive content, and Team DML.